One question I get asked a lot as a student loan consultant is, what order should investing accounts be prioritized in when I'm a student loan borrower and I have student debt that I have got to pay back? It makes a lot of sense that I get this question because the stock market has been on a tremendous bull run since 2009 with no major crashes really in between then and now. And that means that everyone's sort of looking at investing and thinking, oh my gosh, like anything that I don't invest, I'm going to lose so much from not having invested that money and putting it on my debt instead. So should I always just put everything in investments and not worry about paying back my debt? I would say definitely that's not the right answer. I think that you want to follow a more organized approach with a list of steps that you would prioritize if you want to invest while paying down your student debt. So step one is to pay what you have to on your student loans. So step one is pay the minimum of what you absolutely have to. Sign up for an income-based plan if you can't afford your payment, or if you've refinanced already, pay that minimum payment that's required of you. Do not default, do not wreck your credit. That will raise the cost of other kinds of borrowing significantly if you do that. So don't default, pay the minimum. That's step one. Step two is to get your employer match. So getting an employer match means that some employers will give you 4% towards retirement if you contribute 4%. You also see situations like contributing 5% to retirement and 5% match or 6% match, whatever your match is, get it. That's very important. That's step two, is to get your employer match. It's really super important because it's 100% return on your money. Step three is pay off credit card debt. You want to make sure you have no credit card debt, even though it's not as important as getting your employer match. So credit card debt, if you think about it, is maybe a worst case scenario, 20-25% interest rate. That's very high. That's going to destroy anything that you could get from investing. So you want to go ahead and pay off your credit card debt first before moving on to the next step. So step four is to get $5,000 of cash in the bank. So if you can get $5,000 of cash in the bank, then you will have enough savings to start investing. Step five is to open a brokerage account and put $100 a month into this brokerage account. That is a bare minimum of just setting something up so that you know the account exists and so you remember how to do monthly contributions. And by knowing that, you're going to build wealth over time by just knowing how to invest in a brokerage account, which is a taxable account, which is the same thing as saying investing outside of your workplace retirement plan. A lot of people never do this, and that means that they have no chance of retiring before the age of 60 by not having a brokerage account and by not contributing into investments outside of retirement. Because retirement, you have to pay a penalty if you pull your money out after 60, whereas a brokerage account, you don't have to do that. So that's number five. Number six is get 6 months expenses in an emergency fund. So getting 6 months of expenses in an emergency fund, that's important so that the next time your transmission breaks or your furnace breaks down, you've got a good amount of money saved up so that you don't have to go finance it somewhere and further load yourself down with other kinds of consumer debt. So you definitely need the emergency fund, and notice that all we've done so far is get the minimum towards retirement for our employer match and open a brokerage account, putting $100 a month into that account. So that's all we've done so far. In other words, we want to make sure that you do invest a little bit really early on, but also not that much until you've achieved financial security. Step seven would be, after you've gotten your emergency fund set up, now max your retirement account. For most people, that's going to be a 401k, and you can contribute up to $19,500 a year, and that amount is going to continue to be increased over time. So shortly it'll be $20,000, then it'll probably be $20,500, and then $21,000. You just have to look and see what the guideline is for the year you're looking at. The best way to do this is just to look at the amount that you would need to contribute to max your retirement, and then divide it by the number of paychecks that you get per year. And that's the amount of money we want to have withheld every paycheck to make sure you max your retirement accounts without really having to think about it too much. So that's really important because maxing retirement is going to give you a lot of tax benefits. It's going to cut your tax burden, and it's going to make you very wealthy because you're going to invest in dollar cost average into your investments over time without really realizing it that much. So it really is a pretty powerful way to grow wealth over time by just simply throwing money into the retirement accounts in an organized fashion. Next is step 8, which is to increase your brokerage account contribution from $100 a month to, let's say, $1,000 a month, if you can afford that. If you can't, that's okay. But if you can't afford to increase your investing in your brokerage account, try to do something painful. It might be different for everybody, but $1,000 a month is big enough where even if you're making a high income, you're going to notice that. So let's say that you're making a smaller income, you might say, okay, let's do $500 a month or $200 a month, right? Just basically increase your brokerage account savings to something that is noticeable. And the reason is as you get raises, we want you to go back and to increase that brokerage account contribution so that you have multiple sources of wealth long term and not just your retirement account, right? So that's why it's important, and it's coming in here at step 8, is to remember that you can increase automatic contributions to a brokerage account. And by the way, if you don't know where to set up a brokerage account, Vanguard, Fidelity, Schwab, Betterment, Wealthfront, any of those options, TD Ameritrade, any of those options are great options. And just if you don't know what you're doing, then sign up for one of their investing advice services where they'll manage it for you and have it all contributed into accounts for you. They'll do a decent enough job to be worth the fee. Now, number 9 is finally you have the choice of whether or not to pay off student loans or invest more. So that's step 9, is pay off student loans or invest more. So some people will look at student loans and you will get a rate like 3% fixed for 20 years. You might not want to pay that debt down early because that's such a low rate. You might want to invest instead on the theory that you'll earn more than 3% investing in the stock market. Now, that's a reasonable path to take. That's a reasonable conclusion. And if that's how you feel, that's fine. Go ahead and dump whatever amount of money you have left over to invest into the market and let your student loan payment just try to be as long as possible with as low of an interest rate as possible so that you can invest more instead of pay down debt. Now, other people will say, you know what, I would prefer to pay down my student loans in a reasonable amount of time. I do not want to be age 50 or having my kids go to college and be thinking about my loans. That makes me nauseous. In that case, for step 9, instead of investing more, then go ahead and pay down your debt. So paying down debt is a little bit of a risk-averse path. It's natural, though, because most of us are kind of risk-averse people. Most people don't like having debt. So I think that's a reasonable thing to do. Go ahead and pay down your debt at step 9, or invest more, or some combination. So some people might take half the money they have left over at this point and invest it, and they might take half of it and put it towards their student loan debt. And I will say step 10 is do not pay down your mortgage before paying down your student loans. Mortgage debt in some cases is tax deductible if you itemize on your tax return. So also you would have to consider that mortgage loans have a little bit more protections on them in terms of not kicking you out of your house, for example, if you can't afford to pay it, whereas student loans, if you have private student loans, you have to pay those, and if you have federal student loans, they are income-based, but they can also garnish wages if you don't pay it, right? So mainly the real reason is because student loans are not tax advantaged, really, except for a very minor student loan interest deduction that a lot of people don't even qualify for. So that would be the list of 10 steps in terms of ordered priority of investing accounts. You can also watch other content that we've got for you on investing while paying down student loans, and watch this next video about whether or not you should pay off your student loans early. I'm Travis from StudentLoanPlanner.com. Thanks for watching.